Jack?
If Mira will unmute me, I can start. Okay, I'm unmuted. This is absolutely amazing. We're all, COVID-19 is a disaster, but if there is a silver lining, it's being able to cross continents the way we are now. So what I would like to talk about, the past few months, I've been learning Gemara with Eitan, Raquel's oldest. We used to call him Little Eitan, but he's too tall for that now. And we've been learning Masechet Shabbat, Chanukah, which was good because we're wrapping it up as we get close to Chanukah. I have the good fortune to have Grandpa Manny's Shas, his edition of the Talmud. And if you've seen his books, you know he was a great underliner. One of the questions, unfortunately, we can't ask him is whether the different colors mean something different, because he used a lot of different colors. He also took marginal notes. And I love showing Eitan the notes of his great-grandfather. People's notes often reveal a lot about them. And I want to share 3 vignettes from Grandpa Manny's Gemara. The first is in Masechet Shabbat, Daf Chav Gimel Amud Bet, the 23rd folio, the second side. In the Gemara's discussion of how many Chanukiot, how many menorahs need to be lit in a house with several entrances, the Gemara concludes that every entrance needs its own Chanukiah, its own menorah. Why? Lest passing townspeople suspect the homeowner of not fulfilling the mitzvah of lighting Hanukkah candles. Because if they happen to pass the entrance without a candle, they'll say, oh, that bum didn't light Hanukkah candles. And the Gemara asks, how do we know that we should be concerned about not creating suspicion? The Gemara brings a proof text from the mitzvah of Peyah. Peyah is the requirement that when you harvest a field, you leave something over for the poor people. And the Gemara cites Braita, Amar Rav Shimon, Bishvil arba'at dvarim amra Torah, laniach Peyah b'sof hasadeh. The Torah tells us that the Peyah has to be left in the end of the field in a standardized location. You can't leave it any place you want. And the Braita asks why? Why is it important that it be in the end of the field in a standard place? And it brings 4 reasons. One of which is mipnei gezel aniyim, shelo yireh bal habayit sha'a pnuya v'yomar lechovav ani harei zeh peyah. One of the 4 reasons why you need a standardized location is that if it were random, then the owner could call his relatives and send them a WhatsApp and say, come on over, there's some payah waiting for you. But if it's a standardized location, the poor people will always know where to find it. And Grandpa wrote in the margin in a beautiful, clear hand, charity must be given to strangers, not to relatives only. And I think we all know how hard he worked on philanthropy, how hard he worked, how caring he was about people who were needy, and how much he extended himself. The second vignette I want to share is in folio 23, Chav Gimel Amud Bet, the second side. Amar Rava, Pshita li, Ner Beito v'Ner Chanukah, Ner Beito Adif. Rava says that it's obvious to me that the candles of the household, which means the candles of Shabbat, and the candles of Hanukkah, the candles of the house, are more important, which means If a person is too poor to buy both Hanukkah candles and Shabbat candles, what should they do? And Rava says it's obvious they should buy the Shabbat candles because, and Rashi says, so that people, and then the Gemara says, Mishum Shalom Bayith, in order to have a peaceful, tranquil home. And Rashi says it's so that the people in the household won't sit in the dark on Shabbat. And in the margin, Grandpa Manny wrote, but Shalom Bayit is more important. I think those of us in his family all have benefited. When he talked about tranquility in the home, that value did not just extend to him and Grandma Bessie. That value extended to all of us. And he went out of his way to make sure that our relationships within the family were good and tranquil and loving. The third is my personal favorite. Further down on Chav Gimel Amud Bet, on folio 23, the second side, Rav Huna presents 4 observations on how meritorious behavior leads to or should lead to good outcomes. Eitan and I had a good conversation about normative truth, which I can elaborate another time. One of the 4 observations is Haragil b'ner havyan lebanim talmidei chachamim, that someone who lights a lot of candles, we're talking here implicitly about Shabbat, someone who has a home that's brightly lit, they will have children who are learned. And the Gemara brings examples of where this observation seems to come true. One of which describes Rav Chizda passing the doorway, and the Gemara's language is Devei Nasha de Rav Shizbi. He saw many lights lit, and he said, a great man will come from this home, and Rav Shizbi came forth. But the question is, what's Nasha? It's a very unusual word. It doesn't appear very often in the Gemara. Rashi says, Aviv. Nasha means his father. So Rav Chizda passed the doorway of Rav Shizbi's father, who lit many candles, and then Rav Shizbi came forth. But then Rashi goes on to say, Ve'ika de Amrei Chamav. Some people say that Nasha means father-in-law. And then Rashi says, Nafak minayhu dechatno kivno. And we learn from this that a son-in-law is like a son. And to my great delight, Grandpa underlined the last phrase in red. Yehei zichro baruch.
Thank you, Abba. I just want to introduce everybody to Eitan, who came on in the middle and was able to hear half of what you said. Eitan, can you wave?
Hi.
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 Eitan is in 10th grade and is dorming. We locked him in so he can go back to school. And he's in a very intense math and science program in 10th grade.
Oh, wow. Hi, sweetheart. Wow.
My learning partner. Okay, mute us.
Okay. Julie goes now. Look, isn't this a beautiful picture? Where are these from?
Rafi? So what I'm seeing here is that these pictures are from Getty Images, which is pretty amazing. Who sent the pictures?
It means
It's, the source is Denver Post. And I Googled Manuel Laderman, and some very interesting pictures came up that I'm sure that I'll share with you this evening, including these. But there are other pictures also that are just as amazing.
Rafi, who's speaking now?
Ima, Savta Shula.
Hello. You're gonna leave?
Ima at the mute.
I totally see
Okay.
you.
I would like to share a screen, but someone else is sharing a screen, so I can't do it. Okay? Okay, so I'll
Now
share.
you can share, Ima.
Okay, great. Okay. Wait. Okay, I wrote what I wrote in Hebrew, so it's anybody who doesn't know English of the young ones can read, and I will translate it, okay? This is, I did,
Ima, can you do it present your screen so that it'll be bigger? Do the present, the screen, the slide share.
the slide share, I have a slide show, you're screen sharing. So, what, you can see it?
You have to press on it, Ima, so we can see the full מצגת. עם כפתור למטה, מתחת התמונה, איפה שרואים.
כן, בסדר גמור. Okay, very good. Okay, so this Shabbat in the synagogue, we read Parashat Toldot. Toldot is something that is translated, here it's not, this is the story of Isaac, but Toldot has to do with Yeled, with generations, with birth. And we always read this parasha, this portion, when there is a new month, Rosh Chodesh Kislev, which is tonight. And that's the Yortzeit of Grandpa. So the reason why this is called Toldot is because the first verse in that portion says, and ve'ele toldot Yitzchak. This is the generation of Yitzchak, the son of Abraham. Abraham gave birth to Yitzchak. Now, it's very questionable. Why did they choose Toldot? Why did they call this parasha Yitzchak? Just like in Noah, we have also the first verse says, Ele Toldot Noach. Noach ish tzaddik. And yet they call the parasha, the portion that is called Noah, and not, and here it's called Toldot and not Yitzchak. So what is the big difference between Noah and Isaac, Yitzchak? The reason, the big difference is that Noah is known to us as a very righteous man, but we don't know much about his family. We don't know, he's not giving us any kind of a heritage from his father. And yet here the emphasis is that Isaac is the son of Abraham. He has a whole tradition. He has all kinds of values that he can give to his children, to his next generation. And that's why Toldot is very important. Now we know that Grandpa also is the person that didn't just live by himself. He gave so much to his family, his congregation, his city, everything. And so it's very fitting that Toldot and the idea that this is Yitzchak ben Avraham, and there is a whole a collective memory of our family and all the things, wonderful values that we got from Grandpa. And so it's very fitting that the word Toldot appears. Now, Grandpa, we know that he was a wonderful rabbi. He wrote this love letter to his congregation, and Paul, when he found the book, I don't know if you could see, you all know the letters of faith. When he found it and published it, he said that he found all these letters, and they were so, till today, they're so relevant to everybody who reads them. So he was so full of values that he knew how to relate them to his congregation, to young people, to older people. And he was so active also for Israel and for the Jews, the survivors where he was in Europe after the World War II, and he worked for the Joint. And he also built a wonderful community in Denver. He really was chosen to the city council chose his name to name a wing in the hospital, in the city hospital, so that he really did so much. Now, I want to bring another toldot. It says in Genesis, in the end of Genesis, the portion Genesis, it says, "Ze sefer toldot Adam, ביום ברא אלוהים אדם בדמות אלוהים עשה אותו." This is the record of Adam's line. When God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. Meaning that here again, there is a toldot. The same word is used, and it's used to show a book of the real relevance and values that Adam, who was created in the image of God, was able to give the generations after him. And the rabbis asked, why does it say Sefer Toldot? It doesn't say Toldot, but it says the book of the generations of Adam. What is in the book? So Rabbi Akiva said that book has, you should love your neighbor as yourself, or you should love your friend as yourself. And another rabbi said, no, this is Sefer Toldot Adam is not just neighbors. You have to love everybody. You have to help everybody. And that's what Grandpa did. So how does that relate to our feeling of this, of memorizing Grandpa in such a wonderful way we could all share? Because as Rabbi Bechaye, who lived in the 13th, 14th century, said, that the pasuk, that verse that says, "This a generation of Isaac, the son of Abraham," he brings another verse where he says that the crown of all the people, of the elders, are their sons and sons of sons, children and their generation, and the tiferet, the beauty of the sons, their elders, because if they have elders that have so many accomplishments and have been so wonderful and gave us all this great values that we carry and the warmth of the family. So this is really our crown. This is the thing that we are happy to share with people and to think about and to tell our children and children all the wonderful things that Grandpa did. So we are all very lucky that we have this tradition that we can all share, and we hope that his soul will be bound in among the living, among us. That's it. Okay, I have some pictures here. This is a very, when Paul and I were in Israel and Grandpa came to visit with Grandma, and this picture is in Ilana and Tzachi's wedding. So you could all share this beautiful wedding picture, meaning Grandpa at I think Grandpa was only in Ilana's wedding. And this is a cute picture that we took just before we left for Israel. And here is Grandpa, and there was Aunt May and Uncle Sam and us and Grandma just before our aliyah to Israel, which Grandpa and Grandma were so supportive of and so helpful to us all the years. So we remember them so fondly. And it's wonderful to be able to share it with all of you. That's it. Okay, I'm finished.
Ilana, okay, I'll share it again.
Rafi, am I next?
Yes, you're on.
Okay, so I'm going to share. Can I share my PowerPoint?
Oh, yeah, fine.
So thank you for the opportunity to share a few words about Grandpa, and it was wonderful to hear my father talk about his experience with learning for Eitan. Eitan is another Eitan Menachem in our family, a name for Grandpa Manny. So I want to.
Raquel, can I just interrupt and say happy birthday for a very significant birthday you just celebrated from everyone?
I'm as my son Shai said, I've completed half my lifespan. Please God.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Raquel.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
So I wanted to take a few minutes and continue Doda Shula's beautiful words of linking at Jewish texts with important attributes of Grandpa, and linking articles and ideas from his own lifetime to Jewish texts that we know he loved, and specifically the work of Maimonides, and focusing here on this question of authority and leadership that Grandpa both thought about and embodied. I want to start with a wonderful resource that I happen to know about because I work at the National Library of Israel, and it's called JPress, and it's a digital archive of historical Jewish newspapers, now approaching 3 million pages, including a number of American Jewish newspapers. And so I typed in Manuel Laderman in the search bar, and I got 92 results spanning about 6 decades. And so I encourage everyone to go into the resource, and I put the URL at the top, jpress.org.il, and you too can explore, and it's an extraordinary resource. So I want to take a look at a few articles that I found through this digital archive that reminds us of aspects of Grandpa and how he related to his work as a Jewish leader. This is from right after 1948. In 1949, in November, when he returned from the year the family spent in Paris, and Grandpa traveled to North Africa, to Eastern Europe, and also to Israel. And after this broad sweep of seeing various Jewish communities and the challenges that they related, he came back with a greater sense of the importance of the work that American Jews could do. And he saw that, he used the language of strong religious yishuv, but here talking about the Jewish community in America, that the Jews in America could serve as leaders to protect and direct the future of the Jews as a whole people. If we jump to 1956, here's another article where we see Grandpa calling out other rabbis, in particular Orthodox rabbis from Brooklyn and Williamsburg, who issued a ban against associating with conservative and Reform Jews. And Grandpa comes up very strongly against this ban, and he uses the language of the recognizing the need for Jewish leadership, for authority, but he sees their zeal as a misguided piety. Instead, he puts forth this idea that here in America, with its new challenges and new reality, I would use the language of, it calls for adaptive leadership. And what's fascinating here is something that I always knew as a story, but now I see it in print, and that is how much Grandpa admired the Rambam, Maimonides. And here he uses Maimonides as a paradigm for what it means to be an adaptive Jewish leader. And he uses a language here, he talks about Maimonides, who encountered the challenge of Greek philosophy, which taught the eternity of physical matter, meaning that the Greek philosophy that held that the world was eternal and not created, and it threatened the basic Hebrew idea of God's creation of the world. Now, what is he talking about? So Maimonides, I'm trying to, here. Maimonides, who was not only a student of Greek philosopher, but very much was a philosopher in his own right and wrote philosophical treatises. He believed so intensively in the truth of Torah and the truth of Greek philosophy that he incorporates Greek philosophy also into his writings on halacha, on Jewish law. And the best example of that is this is the first sentence of the Maimonides' great code of Jewish law called the Mishneh Torah. And the first sentence that underlies the theology of Jewish law is straight out of Greek philosophy. The foundation of foundations and firmest pillar of all wisdoms is to know that there is a first being, and that the first being caused all beings to be, and that all beings from heaven and earth and from being between them could not be saved for the truth of his own being. Now, as Professor Moshe Halbertal has pointed out, his language here, if you read it very simply, you would actually come to the conclusion that the world is eternal and not created. The Rambam doesn't start his book of Jewish law saying, and then God created the world, but talks about first causes and first beings. And the point is that the Rambam, in the way he integrated the challenge of Greek philosophy, is to show that one could coexist with both the idea that the world is eternal and the idea that the world is created as the basis for halacha, as long as one understands God as the first being and the first cause. Now, the Rambam wrote this code of Jewish law, the Mishneh Torah, because he felt the world was in crisis. We understand that we're living in a global crisis right now. The Rambam, in the Mediterranean world that he lived in, went from one crisis to another, from the Almohad persecution to the Crusaders to changes of rule among the Muslims, until he got to more stability in the second half of his life. And he saw the crisis as the impetus for doing something radical, adaptive. And here's from the introduction to the code of Jewish law, to the Mishneh Torah, where he writes that in our time, severe troubles come one after another, and all are in distress. The wisdom of our sages has disappeared. The understanding of our discerning men is hidden. And all of the texts that the Rambam had received as part of his own learning, he was very worried that there were very few people left who could interpret them. And so only a few people properly understand the Jewish tradition. And so what did he do? He decided to take upon himself the role of radically changing the way Jewish texts were written. And instead of the Talmud, where you have Rav Huna, Rav Ashi, you have many different opinions, they have meandering conversations, it's not clear if you ever get to a conclusion. The Rambam decided that he was going to write a clear code with simple language, or clear language, so that everybody will know what to do. Now, what's interesting about the Rambam's move, this adaptive leadership, is he decided to become the authority, the exclusive authority. He saw himself as the 12th century version of Rabbi Judah the Prince, who created and edited the Mishnah 10 centuries earlier, 11 centuries earlier. So the Rambam, in how he dealt with the challenge and the crisis of his day, is to claim authority for himself. And here I would say that Grandpa broke from Rambam, because Grandpa, while he very much admired the Rambam and his way of dealing with the challenges of his time and integrating philosophy into Jewish life, in this same article I quoted, where the Grandpa criticized the Orthodox rabbis in Brooklyn for banning connections to the Reform and conservative Jews, Grandpa instead espoused and promoted the idea of collective authority. Grandpa was a Democrat. Grandpa believed in the collective wisdom. And here he put forward the idea of creating a kind of Sanhedrin, a court of wisdom that might serve as the authority for Jews in America and beyond. And so this little journey that we just took, starting from the newspapers that gave us a window back into the way that Grandpa operated, the way he admired Maimonides on the one hand, but he held his own ethos of his own time. On the other, reminds us of what an extraordinary leader Grandpa was. Thank you very much.
Yasher Koach, Rocky.
Thank you.
Beautiful, Rocky, beautiful.
I think we will now look at a few slides, and then Mary and Zev and Ilana can give some personal notes. So Ilana, if you can unmute everybody, and then people can relate to the pictures and the slides, whatever memories that they bring back. So please unmute everybody, or unmute yourselves.
I'm looking.
Which ones did he pick there?
I think that's the RC.
I think on top is the Alliance.
What is this?
I don't know what this one is, but that one I recognize. I think that's maybe the Hebrew.
This is a painting by Mel Silverman, young, unfortunately died very, very young artist who grew up in the shul in the Denver community in our neighborhood. And Grandpa, this is one painting, and the Ner Tamid in the shul was also a commission of Mel Silverman.
It's called davening. I saw it in the picture. It's called davening.
Huh.
We have a Mel Silverman too in our house.
Huh.
Oh, I have that photo.
I love that picture.
Yeah.
Aren't they all so beautiful? These are, a lot of these people are cattlemen, ranchers, supplied ranch people. And they're so dressed up, right?
This is at Union Station in Denver.
Right. These are
Mary,
the
what's
people
the
from-
story here? I think Grandpa wasn't accurate with his age. When he told him how old he was, he added a few years to his age because he was too young for the position or something. That's the story I got.
How old? He was 20. How old was he? This was 1909 to 1933, 32. So how old was he?
You see the man in the white coat in the center?
That's Uncle Maury. That's Ron's daddy.
That's my father. And he was a temporary rabbi for the Hebrew Educational Alliance for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. And he said, have I got a buddy for you to be your rabbi? And he introduced Manny Laderman, and they all came to Union Station to greet him.
Right.
How about this picture, Mary?
Wow.
Look.
This on the left is two pictures that I got from Yael. I think showing my dad and you on the donkey. My dad's on the donkey in Israel.
It was a mistake.
Yes.
We have to get back on our truck. Wow.
We have now. Would she have that?
And on the right, it's a picture that's taken from the Denver Post. It's you received a whole plate of fresh fruit for your return from
When we
Israel.
get back from Europe, huh?
From Europe.
I look like I want to tear that package open and eat it. I'm ready to eat something.
And it's an amazing picture of my father. I never saw this picture.
Yeah, I never did either.
I've never seen them either. Huh. Who's this guy?
This is on the left. It's should have copied the description. It's a ceremony at the Israel Hospital. It's a dedication of that he sat in, and on the top is an award that was given, I think to the mayor, could be. These are pictures that my mom showed as well.
Pretty picture, isn't it? Yay.
Used to be young. Nipo.
You don't have that.
The mayor. Nipo.
We
לא,
do.
זה לא כן בעצם.
Just we.
מאיר זה זה.
Yeah. Huh.
Who's in the picture on the right? Who is that? Is that Yael?
Yael, that's Yael.
Under the thumbnails, yeah. This trip, we went to visit Grandpa Moshe in Kansas City on this same trip. That was the only time that she saw him. She was a little baby. He saw her.
But the picture on the left is near the Knesset, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in
This was
Yerushalayim.
at the Israel, no, it's the Israel
Museum.
Museum.
Ah,
That
that's
was
when
when
you
we
did
did
the
That's when
thing.
we came for Zevi's bar mitzvah.
Right,
Yeah.
and you did your thing at the museum.
I did 2 performance works at
Right,
the Israel
right.
Museum, right, yeah.
Okay, this is very interesting. It's a tribute that Timothy Worth
Wow.
gave to Grandpa
Wow.
and the House of Representatives after he retired. And I enlarged two parts that were very moving, very exciting. First, on the left, saying that Laderman is often called the Dean of Denver Rabbis. But he laughs at that, saying they only said it because I'm the oldest. But religious leaders in different faiths believe he is the dean. The most Reverend George R. Evans, Auxiliary Bishop of the Denver Roman Catholic Archdiocese, is called Laderman Mr. Rabbi in Denver. He is the respect and reverence of total community. He's beloved by all people. He's a Superman.
Beautiful.
And at the end, he closes his tribute quoting Grandpa, saying that every life that I had the privilege to touch, every mind that I have been allowed, technical issue. Every life I've been privileged to touch, every mind I've been allowed to enter, every experience of Jewish beauty which I have permitted to enhance, every area of comfort which I have been privileged to assist has brought me experiences more enriching than any that I conferred. I am grateful that it was given to me to serve, to lead, to be helped, and to be loved by so many of you. This is from the love letter to my community, I think. This quote.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And this is the Manuel Laderman Regional Trauma Center in Grandpa's name. Now, if somebody wants to read this is a chapter 90 of songs. If somebody wants to read the English or the Hebrew, you can read it out loud and we'll recite it together. Dana, do you want to read the chapter? Dana?
Prayer of Moses, the man of God. Lord, thou hast been our dwelling place in all generations. Before the mountains were brought forth, or ever thou hadst formed the earth and the world, even from everlasting to everlasting, thou art God. Thou turnest man to contrition and saith, return, ye children of men. For 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday, when it is past and a watch in the night. Thou carriest them away with a flood. They are as sleep. In the morning, they are like grass which groweth up. In the morning, it flourisheth and groweth up. In the evening it is cut down and withereth. For we are consumed in thine anger, and by thy wrath we are hurried away. Thou hast set our iniquities before thee, our secret sins in the light of thy countenance.
Continue.
The days of our years are 80 years and 10, or even by reason of strength 80 years. Yet in their pride, but travail in vanity, for it is speedily gone, and we fly away. Who knoweth the power of thine anger, and thy wrath according to the fear that is due unto thee? So teach us to number our days, that we may get us a heart of wisdom. Return, O Lord, how long, and let it repent thee concerning thy servants. O satisfy us in the morning with thy mercy, that we may rejoice and be glad all our days. Make us glad according to the days when thou hast afflicted us, according to the years wherein we have seen evil. Let thy work appear unto thy servants, and thy glory upon thy children. And let the graciousness of the Lord our God be upon us. Establish thou also upon us the work of our hands. Yea, the work of our hands, establish thou it.
That's my favorite. These two.
This is one of the 7 Psalms that are recited in every visit to a cemetery for memorial service. And what's special in this occasion with this chapter is I marked this verse 12 in yellow, because my father used to always, this is also recited in the morning prayers in the Shabbat. And every time we used to read this, so my Abba used to say that this verse 12 was Grandpa's most favorite verse in the whole Bible.
Right.
So teacher, this sort of summoned his whole belief in life, is to number our days that we can get us a heart of wisdom. That was Grandpa's way of thinking.
That's right.
His motto.
Yeah, his motto, exactly.
That's true.
Mary, do you want to share some personal?
Thank you. Oh, wait, am I muted? Rafi, that was just magnificent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, I thought, we're preparing to send Grandpa's archives to the Rocky Mountain Jewish Historical Society. Zev in Denver met with the head, Dr. Jeannie Abrams. So she's very well aware that these papers will be coming to her. And she's very excited about it. In going through the papers, I found some remarks that I made at the dedication of the regional Rabbi Manuel Laderman Regional Trauma Center at Denver General Hospital on April 12th, 1994. It was established by Ordinance 435 to name the regional center for Grandpa. This last year, and I'm going to read you what I said at the dedication. This last year, Zev, the trauma center was changed, even though it was supposed to be permanent. It was changed. I don't know who it's named for now, but apparently it was done for raising more funds than they had from Grandpa. And Zev made a special trip to Denver to be at they took a plaque that had been made as part of the original dedication and moved it to the central lobby. Maybe Zevi would like to say something, but first I do want to read to you what I said at the original dedication. Sometimes in this world, a person appears who has a power to love that is so pure and strong and joyful that we can speak about this love in only a simple way, even though life's journey is vastly complex and often full of pain. My father was blessed with the power of love like that. I can speak of it only in a simple way. He loved his wife, our mother, Bess Laderman, his life's partner, like that. He loved us, his whole family, and his congregation like that. He loved this place, this city of Denver, like that, with all his heart. He believed that the city is a living entity that we, each of us, create together, that we are all responsible for the city together, that service to this home of us all is a privilege. For him, the city's hospital for all is the symbol that democracy in the city is alive. Trauma to any citizen is an emergency for us all. As my father wrote, no one belongs on the bottom. No one is an alien, a slave, a barbarian. Respect for each individual is the essential quality of all human beings. Equality is a measurement. Dignity is immeasurable. Naming this marvelous place of healing for him is especially appropriate and meaningful for our family. My father and mother, through their long, beautiful life in the city, planted their roots here. Now his vision of democracy, service, and the immeasurable dignity of each individual flowers here permanently. You have graced his name and our name with this great honor. We are most grateful to all of you who have worked so hard with such continuing devotion to realize all of this. We are, all of us here today, delivering his final sermon of Thanksgiving together. Our prayers are for all of you who work to heal here and for all those who may now benefit from this healing. We feel so blessed this day. We thank you. Gorgeous. So, 1994, so that was 26 years, 26 good years.
Wow.
Denver General serves everyone. It's for all people.
Thank you, Mary. Zev, can you share us your thoughts and your notes that you wanted to share from when you spoke last year?
We saw, do you remember this photograph that was in the Mr. Red.
Can you hear me? Whoa.
Yes.
All right. Mary, thank you very much. It's amazing how what I spoke last year was like 25 years later was a bookend of what you said, mentioned originally. Today, there's a beautiful plaque there of Grandpa sitting with the other two very prominent figures in the history of Denver Health and Denver General, and it's really a respectful replacement that they did for us as a family. I had the great joy of representing the family and working with almost everybody around this call and putting together my words from the family to the hospital and to the people that friends and family and people that remember Grandpa on that day, which is a very beautiful and moving day. I wrote a pretty long speech, and I asked Grandma's forgiveness for writing such a long speech in the speech, of course, mentioning her. And I thought that what would be most appropriate, that I would share. I think I forwarded the speech to everybody afterwards, and I'm happy to do it again. But I was just going to read off the excerpt that I spoke about, where I actually took from my my father's book, compilation of Grandpa's sermons that my mom mentioned, and sort of try to highlight like 6 different attributes of my grandfather that I think reside in all of us. And I thought that would be appropriate in the few minutes that I have here. So basically, I'll just read. And my father, may he rest in peace, created a book of my grandfather's sermons called Letters of Faith from his 50 years of service in Denver. Although written decades ago, these letters are still very relevant to our day and time and have been an inspiration for me over the years. With great pride, I want to share a few with you in my attempt to convey his lasting memory. First, the balance between holding to tradition and embracing the ever-changing world. My grandfather coined this well as the elasticity of tradition. In the way he did so, Rabbi Goldberger, his protege and follower, described him in his introduction to the book, a man for all seasons. 2, Grandpa, standing up for what is right, no matter how much the odds are against you, yet to do so in a way that emphasizes love and peace, building bridges and compassion rather than aggression and belligerence. In my grandfather's words, if you believe in your fellow man, you must help him, join him in building a better world. 3, he embraced all, with letters to Christians, ministers, Arabs, atheists, hippies, psychedelics, and more, emphasizing the common, respecting and appreciating the differences, attempting to bridge those differences. He celebrated pluralism. In his mind, we all benefit from the better understanding we can all achieve together. 4, lead and serve by actions and by example. Build and nurture your community, fellow man and woman, and of course, family. My grandfather was all about taking action and doing deeds. In his belief of Judaism, deeds matter. And doing the right thing at the right time was the core of his belief as a proud and devout Jew. With his deeds, he gave so much to so many people, yet my grandfather found that through his giving, he would always receive more. 5, he was always very thankful and gave gratitude while embracing humbleness. Remember, he always made a bracha before anything that he put in his mouth. He did not hesitate to admit mistakes, learn from them, and apply their learnings. My grandfather concluded his landmark letter, a love letter to my congregation, where in a most humble way, he admitted mistakes he made, yet was grateful to his congregation who allowed him to learn from them and serve them. He concluded his letter, I am grateful it was given to me to serve, to lead, to be helped, and to be loved by so many of you. 6th and last, in the Letters of Faith, I found the most prominent thought that truly reflects my grandfather as a standout human being. He states that a limiting factor of mankind is self-love. He advises in redirecting self-love for its harmful efforts of selflessness into constructive activities of merging self into social usefulness. So those were the 6 attributes that I took out that it was meaningful for me as Rabbi asked me to put this together, that I wanted to share with all of you.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Zevi. Beautiful.
Very nice. Beautiful.
Ilana, if you'd like to give some of your thoughts that you also, I think, had a few things you wanted to say, and then if anybody else would like to share their whatever they have, they'd like to share with everybody else. So please feel free. But Ilana, please take it away.
Okay, everybody. Well, what a hard act to follow all these speakers. Can you see my screen with the drawing I just drew? No, with Escher?
No, we haven't seen.
Yes.
Can you
Yes.
see the screen now?
No,
Yes.
I don't see it.
Everybody give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen. Good. Okay, Ima, you're going to check what's going on. Okay, so first of all, we started with a happy birthday for Raquel. I just want to take a minute and say happy birthday to Uncle Jack. Facebook has whispered to me that we also have another birthday in the family. This is becoming a
Tomorrow.
every time we have a Zoom session, somebody's celebrating a big birthday. Last time it was the Mary, Aunt Mary. So happy birthday, Jack.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Happy birthday.
And I'm going to try to tie things together.
You're
I
unmuted.
want to be muted now.
Oh, you want to be muted?
So I want to thank also Rafi for this initiative. Rafi had this idea, and it's crazy week, and I'm saying, Rafi, what? And here he made this amazing thing happen. So really, like we say, kol hakavod, Rafi, really amazing, great job. And those photos, many of them I've never ever seen. So I also want to acknowledge the fact that, you know, seeing my kids here talking about Grandpa, they've always heard about Grandpa from me because I think he was the most beautiful man I've ever known. Sorry, Taffy. There was something so beautiful about him. That's how I remember him. Of course, as a child, I remember him 100 feet tall, but there was just something so elegant and so radiant about him. And when Grandpa died, I was really shattered. It was also the first time that I lost a grandparent, and I was really shattered. And it was that week that I found out I was pregnant with Karen. And I can't separate the two. And seeing all my kids now on the Zoom, I can't separate the two because Karen's name, Karen, one of the reasons, Karen in Hebrew means ray of light, because really I felt like the earth had tumbled down. And when I found out I was pregnant, I felt that that was a ray of light and a real gift from God, from Hashem, to get me out of this, because it was so hard to lose Grandpa. And I also have to say that since becoming a Savta, a grandma, she calls me Nana, since Meshi was born, I'm only now beginning to figure it out. Because I think that until it's like becoming a parent. Until you're a parent, you don't really understand what it's like to be a child. So I think having Meshi now, I kind of understand what being a granddaughter was, because the kind of love that I felt from all my grandparents, from Grandpa, was something that I couldn't really figure out, I think, until I became a grandmother myself. And now I'll just tie things in. Jack started with the Talmud, with Grandpa's beautiful Shas, and Raquel found, we have our person. Congratulations on your amazing job, Raquel, on your promotion. But we have a person in the archives that she has access to just about anything ever written, I think. And to tie it in with the Rambam, and to tie it in also with the whole discourse about pluralism. And Rafi finding those photos, amazing photos. And Muriel the plaque, and then Zevi the plaque. I mean, everything is kind of being tied into a circle of where everyone is talking about the lore and the sources that we're talking about. They just kind of are rolling from one conversation to another, as if it was all planned ahead of time. So I have this picture of Esher here, because what Rafi asked me to do is to talk about the Daf Yomi. I've been studying the daily page of the Talmud, which is a 7.5-year long cycle. I figure if I don't do it now, I'm not sure when I'll do that. And this is also a legacy we received from my father, who finished this 2.5 times, which is amazing. It's studying a double-sided page of the Talmud every day. And for me, it's been a real journey. I feel like I'm doing a trek, because you start this, and I haven't studied most parts of the Talmud, so I'm never quite sure what I'm going to come across the next day. It's just a total surprise to me every time. It's just like Alice in Wonderland. I don't know what the next page is going to be like, and the Talmud is so eclectic that it's always surprising me. And this portion that we're about to finish, and I'm finishing it to Grandpa. We're going to finish on Sunday the whole tractate of Eruvin, which is talks about boundaries all the time, about how you make a boundary, how you make an eruv, how you mark what is private territory and what is public territory. And everybody says about this tractate that this is the most difficult one. And most people stop studying Daf Yomi, the daily tractate, because of this one, because it's so obscure. And some of the topics are so out of comprehension that most people just drop off here because it's crazy. And this picture of Escher kind of reminded me, because here the boundaries, they're kind of all over the place, and they talk about if a well, how much of the well is private property and how much is public property. And I have to say that I found Eruvin fascinating, which kind of worries me because everybody keeps telling me that this is the most difficult. I really found it fascinating because we're talking about in the way it's built is that in the Mishnah, which is from it's up to the 3rd century. So that's the first part of the Talmud, and it's in Hebrew. And then the next part, the Talmud that goes around it and commentary about the Mishnah is from this 3rd century to about the 7th century. So they're trying to understand what people 2, 3, 4, 500 years before them were talking about. And they're talking basically about city ordinances and architecture. So we have these people in the 7th century trying to figure out what they're talking about in the 3rd century. And then in order to get through this, you're helped by commentaries from the 12th century, like Rashi, 12th century, 1,000 years ago. And he's trying to explain to us what the 7th century people were talking about, the 1st century architecture. And the most amazing thing to me is that nowadays, the way that we learn this and the way that we try to figure it out is somebody created this piece of work, which is it's diagrams and it's illustrations of the Talmud. Okay, so now we're talking about something that was written in the 7th century and using the 12th century commentary in Minecraft, which is a modern day software. It's actually a game that probably one of the most popular games for children today, that you can build all kinds of structures online and share them with each other. So somebody in Minecraft has created, well, it doesn't really look like the Talmud, but he's trying to explain all kinds of terms that are mentioned in the Talmud. And every day we use this very, very modern 3D computer generated illustrations to figure out what they were talking about in the 1st century, 7th century, 12th century. And this is how we learn. You always refer back to these illustrations, which are absolutely amazing because it's using software that's common today. So I keep thinking about this whole thing of boundaries of space and boundaries of time and how we're transferring, how we're trying to figure each other out from going backwards and forwards. And when I think about Grandpa, I'm almost sure that Grandpa would know exactly what to say about this COVID-19 situation, because he seemed to, for me, he kind of ties the past with the future and the present. And I just wish I could hear what he was saying clearly. I have a feeling I know what he's saying, but I wish I could hear it clearly. And then I came across something that a friend of, so another thing, this is the NAS reference, and I'm going to read something. So one of the things that I've been doing is I started uploading, we have a Zoom, 30 minutes of Zoom every day about the Talmud portion. And then I started a YouTube channel where we put the recordings of the Zoom, and also a Facebook page that is actually managed by my cousin Vered, who won the Israel Prize for Talmud. And here, and on the Facebook page, there are conversations about the daily Talmud daf, okay? So we're having modern day people write they write something and then people comment on them and then people comment on the commentaries, and it's almost like a new Talmud that's being written about the first Talmud. And it absolutely blows my mind sometimes, this whole kind of bridging of the time and place. So one of the things I found, Afi said, maybe you'll say something about Eruvin with Grandpa. Now, saying something about Eruvin is crazy because it's so eclectic. But then I read, a friend of mine, Rabbi Johnny Solomon, wrote something that I thought was perfect for Grandpa. So I'm just going to read it to you. So the whole thing about the Talmud is about Eruvin is what is private domain and what is public domain. And what he writes is a person may stand in the private domain and move things into the public domain. Okay, so that's a lot of what we talk about is how far can you move things from private to public. And these are the opening words of the Eruvin Mishnah. And we're talking about it. We've been doing this for about 5 months now, I think, Eruvin, and that's what we talk about. So why is this important? So what he wrote, Johnny wrote, however, when I read this Mishnah, it led me to think about what I attempt to do as a teacher. And that's what I'm relating to Grandpa as a teacher, which is to touch both the hearts and minds of those I'm privileged to teach and to each individual learner so that they are more sensitized to the personal and spiritual connection that exists between themselves and God, between themselves and other, and within themselves. In terms of the Mishnah, the mechanism that was likely considered for someone in one domain to move something in another domain was a stick. Okay, they talk about how much you can move a stick, what you can move with a stick. Today, it is technology such as that I'm currently sitting in my home writing these words, which within a few minutes will likely be read and pondered by men and women at home, at work, on the train or the bus. At the same time, and this I saw Grandpa when I read this, at the same time, just as the Mishnah teaches us, there is a limit to how far one person can move something in a different domain. So too, there are limits to how much we can move another. Yes, sometimes a word, a story, or an insight can stir or lift a person. But ultimately, for that word, story, or insight to move them a great distance, the person themselves needs to be an active force in their own personal and spiritual movement. So he took this whole idea of the private domain and the public domain to how we actually interact with each other, how we can move from my private domain to the public domain, from my private domain into someone else's private domain. And the way that he summarizes it just so much reminds me of Grandpa, how careful he was when he was teaching someone not to trespass into their domain, but to move the message across by example, by modeling, and be very careful about how much he will enter their domain and how much he will let them enter his. And in being that careful, I think he influenced, first of all of us, but many, many circles from Denver, from the Jewish community, from the Orthodox movement. And that's the way I see Eruvin. It's one big metaphor for people like Grandpa. That's it.
Thank you, Ilana.
Beautiful, beautiful, sweetheart.
I just want to mention that we're recording this. So if anybody from the families have missed it, we'll be able to send the recording.
Beautiful.
And if anybody would like to share anything they have on their hearts or minds. So, hi, Jake.
Amitai wants to say something.
There's this comic called There's this comic called Otiot, and at the end of the comic, there's a page of a few questions, and one of the questions is, if you can choose any person in the whole entire history to meet in real life, which person would it be? And I would choose Grandpa Manny.
Amitai's second name is Manuel. Even though Grandpa's Hebrew name was Menachem, and we have a bunch of Menachems named after him, but because I really connected to Grandpa Manny, so Amitai's second name is Amitai Manuel.
Can we have all the namesakes raise their hand, please? All the Menachem and Manuels. There we go.
Yeah, raise your hand.
Eitan had to go, but his hand is raised.
I've got something here
You got it.
from Mancos, Colorado. David and Gail here. So, two things. One is one of my fondest memories in Judaism as a whole was Sukkot in Uncle Manny and Aunt Bess's sukkah, and Zevi and Ilana were there. And the beauty of Uncle Manny's service in the sukkah and how precious the approach was to nature and the species of the trees stirred me as a child more than probably any Jewish experience I've ever had. So that's one. And then secondly, one of our daughter Natanya's good friends, Krisha Crabtree, is an emergency room doctor at that trauma center in Denver. And we're in touch with her about how things are going in this COVID, and things are not going well. But she is an amazing doctor in an amazing facility. So there's that.
Beautiful. Oh, just beautiful. Hi.
Everyone looks so beautiful. I wish I could be hugging every person. And I got my COVID test back today and I'm negative, so we could hug kosherly.
Yeah. Hey, are you driving? Are you driving?
I am. Safely, you know.
Be careful.
But I couldn't miss it. I couldn't miss getting to spend some time
So
with you all.
good to see you. Wow.
My heart is with you all, and I'm so grateful for the love that all of us get to experience within our family. You know, I know not all families get to love each other as deeply and richly as we get to, and so I'm so grateful for the way that Manny instilled so much of that in all of us, and I definitely hope to champion that kind of energy to the world as well. So
Amazing. Thank you very much.
You will succeed also, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, well, this is an amazing event, being I think in 12 different time zones, and but having this hour dedicated to Grandpa and to the family.
Thank you, Rafi. Thank you so much for organizing.
Thank you very much for
Great job.
Thank you, Rafi. Just
Great job, Rafi.
so beautiful. Grandpa would have loved to be here.
Proud of you.
He is here.
He's here.
He's
We're
here.
very proud of you.
Shehechianu, Uncle Manny. Shehechianu, Uncle Manny.
But if he's
Yeah, you're right, David. Shechianu is a good way of thinking about it. Absolutely.
definitely.
I hope we can do this on other occasions, even just a regular day.
Good idea.
So great to see you, Lisa.
Let's schedule a Hanukkah Zoom, everybody.
All right.
And maybe we'll also schedule a post Super Bowl Zoom because Kansas City people are going to be very happy, I think.
Yo.
No Broncos.
We see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we see 6 people, but how do we see the other people?
There's a blue arrow.
It doesn't work. Oh,
Yes.
here it is.
It didn't
Okay.
work before.
It did. Oh, wow. Karen, wow. Mayan. Oh, my God. Oh, so nice.
I don't know if you saw earlier, but Larry was on also for a
We
bit.
saw.
Yeah, we saw it.
him.
We saw Larry.
Yachi, wow. Rebecca. Oh, God.
So
Thank you so much. What a wonderful.
be safe, be well, be healthy.
Yes.
And so we can meet again in about a month's time on a Hanukkah evening, or for someone it'll be in the evening, for some of us it'll be in the middle of the day, but it'll be during Hanukkah, and enjoy being together once again.
Man, thank you so much.
And here's the slide that just came in.
His father just came from his Gemara Talmud class. So here he is. So you get him too.
Hi, Israel.
Hi.
Yeah.
Remember we met? Yeah. Okay.
Welcome.
Okay.
Hi, Ina.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Hey, cousins.
Everyone,
Bye.
have a lovely evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. We'll be in touch.
Okay.
Okay, love to all.
Love you all. Love to all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, Jake.
Guys, we have a WhatsApp group. If anybody's not on it, please send me your phone numbers and we'll put you on it. It's open for all of us. You have to be in the club.
Thank you so much. This is.
Okay, love you
I love
guys.
this world.
Love you all.
Bye.
Bye, yeah.
I hear my phone, but I don't see it.